Good morning and welcome to another version of our TechTime. Today I want to touch a little bit on thermostatic expansion valves and some troubleshooting. And today, if you're getting most of our webinar, if you got any notes or got any questions, here's the place where you can sign up for future TechTimes, and you can also send us email questions if you so desire. And I am Jim Strandlund, part of the technical services team. Our numbers are on there. We actually have a Canadian tech service line for all you Canadians. And my email is there if you got any other questions, or if you got some future tech time ideas that might be good for your service technicians or people, gladly drop me an email and we'll take a look at them. We're sponsored by, obviously, Enertech University and Enertech itself with Energy and Technology. Our websites are there. This has being recorded and will also be put onto our YouTube channel, YouTube Enertech University, for future viewing. Here's most of our crew. Some of that has changed a little bit now, and but it's kind of nice sometimes to see a face of the people you may be talking to if you call in for tech support. So the expansion valve's got a bunch of parts built into them. You got the feeler bulb, we got an external equalizer line, you got an inlet and outlet, power head, the valve body. This particular one has what we call a non-adjustable cap, so it can't be adjusted in the field. All expansion valves in the geothermal are bidirectional, so we have flow going back and forth through both directions. One of the big problems is capillary lines or external equalizer lines rubbing and cracking or breaking. Now, you can always take and add some silicone to the little capillary lines to prevent vibration, or make sure you strap them down good to something else to help prevent them from cracking or breaking. Don't want them touching any other parts in the field, okay? Here's an expansion valve that you'll have an adjustable stem on the bottom of it. That way, you remove that cap, there's a square stem, so you can adjust them in the field. But Enertech's expansion valves are all factory presets, so they really don't require any adjusting. But just in case, there is a way you can help adjust or change and see if you can get some different operational characteristics to help diagnose if that expansion valve is bad. But leave them alone in the beginning, put them back in, and let them ride. Now, you may hear us talk a lot about fire and ice test. I don't encourage using real fire, or and it's just kind of a symbolic picture of what we're talking about. But when you're monitoring superheat and subcooling of the unit, or watching your back pressure, by removing the feeler bulb, heating it up in your hand or something with really warm, and then putting it in a glass of ice water, you want to notice if your superheat and subcooling is changing. If it is changing and moving, then typically your expansion valve is probably okay. So it's a very good way of checking, but the most appropriate way is by superheat and subcooling. You'll find that thoroughly checking the refrigeration circuit before replacing the expansion valve is something good to do. Again, the only difference we have in our split units, you will find that there are typically two expansion valves, so not always bidirectional by nature the same way as one is, but they both work, I should say, bidirectionally. They're just in different locations, so one works more in the cooling mode, one works more in the heating mode. So keep in mind, when you're servicing a split unit, there are two expansion valves to make sure you realize which one is not working properly. Now, the neat thing about our Geothermal University is we actually have an expansion valve troubleshooting guide, and I'm not going to go and read this verbatim through every part in here, but what I really like about this is that if you have new techs, new people, maybe not versed in expansion valve repair, this is a good tool to pass out and give to them. And we will be emailing this out to every one of you. It's available for us to email to you if you wish. You can always request, print it off, give it to your technicians. I think the great thing about it is a simple synopsis of how to measure subcooling and how to measuring the superheat. And in correlation with our manuals, there's pictorial diagrams usually in the back that helps you show you where to take your measurements, and it makes it a very effective tool for help diagnosing refrigeration mechanical problems in our systems. On the back of this form, there's a really neat flow chart. Okay, so it's a step-by-step process you can kind of follow to help you decide if you have a bad expansion valve. And again, we're going to email this to every attendee today, and it's available. Send us an email. Any one of us on tech support could email you this as well, or pass it on to other people. Now, once you've determined your expansion valve is maybe as bad and not working, remember, we always recommend cutting the refrigeration lines instead of unsweating and unsoldering them. Using nitrogen is a very important thing so we don't get the corrosiveness and corrosion built inside the pipes while we're removing or resoldering expansion valve in. Also important that I always recommend using a wet rag around the fitting that you're going to weld. Each individual time, re-wet the rag and wrap it around again so you don't overheat the expansion valve and want it to make it live. Obviously, anytime you're in the refrigeration circuit, changing a part, welding, change the filter dryer, period. One drop of moisture can create tremendous amount of problems, and do your due diligence and do things correct, because none of us like having callbacks. So today, that's basic, simple expansion valve troubleshooting. I hope that this will help a couple people in the field. And again, I thank you very much for attending. And these are in Intertech University training recordings, all our YouTube channel. And we have questions here on this email, technicalservices@intertechgeo.com. Until next month, wish you all have a wonderful, successful day. And thanks again for tuning in.